Good morning, everyone. Oh, look at me. I'm quite the mess this morning. How are you? Welcome. How's everybody? Good to see you today. It's June, and so we're going to sit and chat for a while. I'm going to tell you what I've been working on, what I plan to work on. I have a whole bunch of stuff piled up over here. Uh, Took me a minute to get my ironing board set up behind me over here so that I wouldn't have to leave the picture so much when I wanted to show you what I'm going to show you. So, anyway, I hope you're well and hope June has started off well for you. Hope you got a lot done in May. And I hope that you have something that you're working on today. So if you'd like to share what you're working on, tell me in the chat. If you are maybe binding or cutting up scraps, those are great options. If you're stitching along on something, so tell me what's going on in your world, and I will start out by showing you some of what's going on with me. I've got my coffee and my water. Which one do I want first? Do you like this little mug? I'm not a fabricaholic. I'm the curator of an extensive private textile collection. And it's a good giant mug, which I filled up this morning. So, however, it is decaf, so I won't be jittery. I've been on decaf coffee for about a year or so, maybe more. I guess I just like a warm drink. So also tell me if you can hear me all right, if you can see me pretty well, if you're having any technical stuff. I don't know if I can fix it, but I can try. I can try to improve the Zoom a little bit here. Let's see what's beeping. Oh, it's probably my dehumidifier. Let's see. Oh, so this is my personal sewing space, Kevin. It's my basement of my house. And as the kids moved out, I gradually took over the whole room. And it gives me a place for my long arm. Let's see, my long arm right there. And it looks like maybe looks a little bit like a quilt shop, because I did attempt to have a quilt shop. That was back in 2020, which could probably tell that probably wasn't a great year to try to have a fabric shop. So these are all fabrics that were left over from my shop days, and now I use it for anything I want to use it for. I give away a lot of it from time to time. I just packed up a huge sack of 1 yard cuts to this woman that I have become acquainted with, who does a lot of sewing for Toys for Tots. And I mean a lot of sewing. So I gave her a big giant bag, and hope that she really enjoys being able to sew through all of that, because she will get to sewing through it a lot faster than I will. So it goes down little by little. So yeah, it kind of looks a little bit like a quilt shop, but it isn't. It's my basement. Oh, okay. Hi, Jane. Cutting out a pouch for your bag making group. Oh, good. Okay. You know, that ever since you gave me the All the Things tote, which I love so much, I have seen that bag pattern being offered all over the place, kits and whatnot. Have you seen that too? I'm really surprised. It's like all of a sudden, I don't know if it's because it's on my radar now that I know the name of it, but it seems like it's become a really popular pattern. And so, is that what you're going to make or doing something? Um, yeah. Pardon me. Um, so yeah, Kevin, I'm really, really about the quilt shop I had. I'm really glad I tried it. I am really proud of myself for trying it and made it go for a couple of years. And I had worked in a shop for more than a dozen years, so I thought I knew what I was getting myself into. And it was a lot harder than I thought. It shouldn't surprise you, right? A lot harder than I thought. Uh, Way more time intensive than I thought. Um, and there were aspects of it that I really was not, I wouldn't say not prepared for, but not as capable of it, I guess, as I thought that I would be. And uh, I had a couple of helpers, but I was at the point where I was going to need to either commit more or cut loose. And I decided to cut loose. So that's okay. Um, I'm, like I said, it's learned a lot of really good things from it, and I'm really glad I tried it. Um, so it was, yeah. I think if I had never tried it, it would be one of those things that I would think about later going, I wonder if I could have done that or not. A regret, no, but it would still be something that I wondered about. And now I know that it wasn't for me. And so I am completely free of that choice or that decision now. It's like I tried it and it's not always the right thing, the right fit. So what I did find out is what I have still always loved to do is I've always loved to be on my long arm, and love to just get quilts finished. I am not a show quilter. Greatly, greatly admire those who can do long arming for shows, and I appreciate their skills so much. Uh, but mine is on a much more basic level. So I like to do pantographs. I am going to try to challenge myself a little bit more this year. I've got a couple of quilts that I am working on, and one of them I'll show you today that I'm working on. And I am thinking about free motion quilting, custom quilting that one for myself, because I have some ideas in mind as to what I would want to do, and I think it's definitely doable and achievable. And it's not really intense, so I think it's something that could be really a fun challenge for me. Um, but usually I like to get them on, and I like to get those quilts done. I like to get them uh, go from the piecing to getting them quilted, rather not quickly, but I like to see them completed and bound and out into the world. So and most of the quilts that I do I think are for using, and so that suits the purpose really well. So that's kind of where I am on what I do, what I like about long arming. And like I said, I've had the machine for about 15, must be more than that now. At least 15 years. I think it was in around 2009 maybe, when I got the machine. So, um, let's see. So, all right, yeah, Jane, I don't know the Quinn zip pouch. Is that a big one, or is it a by pouch? Does that usually mean that it's a smaller thing? But it'd be fun. I bet it'll be fun to try because I don't think I've heard you talk about the Quinn zip pouch before. So maybe that's a new one. um, I like to spend a lot of time in front of my sewing machine. Um, I do make it a point to come down every day and put some stitches in. But you know what? I have seen some people who are like already on their 50th finish for this year, and I'm stunned. I'm like, what? How 50 quilts that they've made this year? No, I haven't seen them all, but that's amazing. I think one of the women that said that she had done that, I think a lot of them were charity quilts, meaning maybe they probably were not along the lines of a Bonnie Hunter mystery quilt. um, but that was my ninth finish for the year, and I am going to be binding my 10th finish. Um, and I guess while we're talking about it, I can pick it up and show it to you. It's just on the couch, kind of behind the computer. Um, I and it was a project that I started in January, I think it was, Jane. I think that I quilted Tony's Disappearing Hourglass back in January. And then I think I started one of my own, like right after that. And, we're going to talk about this a little bit because I would really like to hear input on how you manage your projects. But before we get into that, let me show you the Disappearing Hourglass. It'll be just a second here. I got to scoot around behind my setup here. So this quilt is waiting for me to bind. The binding is on, and I'm really excited about this one, the binding in particular. So here's the Disappearing Hourglass. It's so big. I like to make big quilts. Like the Bonnie Hunter Mystery, this is a big one as well. So this one will be up in the next episode, I'm sure. And you guys, you come and you visit with me now and you'll get to see things ahead of time. So, and then this is the backing that I chose for it. I love this. It's a caif called Frond in black and white, which I think is just stunning. But what I want to show you about this, I'm going to have to look up again who just demoed this. And if you know, go ahead and say, I'll put it, I'm going to find it again and I'll put it in the description box later. But I am doing a wide binding on this for the first time in a long time. And so my binding, oops, I'm wearing a red shirt. You can hardly see it. So my binding, I cut it 3.5 inches wide. Okay. And then folded that in half. And it ends up being at least 1/2 to 5/8 of an inch wide on both sides. Can you see that? So So the way I did it, I followed the tutorial of, and I'm sorry, I didn't think to get her name ahead of time. Um, but I followed the tutorial, and when you trim your quilt, you trim it about, well, I did it a half an inch beyond the edge of the quilt. She said 3/8, but I did it half inch. We'll see if I did it wrong or not, because I don't know. It gave me a little bit of, I mean, even so, even with the half inch, I can still kind of pinch a little bit here and it doesn't feel quite full to me all the way out to the edge. Like I should have had even a little bit more batting in here, or maybe taken a little bit deeper seam allowance. So, but that's okay. It comes over and it covers my stitching just fine, but I haven't started stitching it down yet. And I'm going to stitch this one down by hand. So, anyway, I am really excited to try this. I think it looks really cool. And you know how we get locked into, this is the way I always do binding. I cut it 2¼ inches and it turns out to be a really skinny binding. And that's the way I've done it for, I don't know, 15 years at least. It just seems like it's been that way for a really long, long while. And every once in a while, I will try a big stitch binding, and I like that. But it's been a while since I've done the big stitch binding. And then I came across this tutorial and I really like the look. What do you think? Have you tried it? Do you like it? Um, yeah, I did think I had finished Tony's by the end of January. Okay. And you know what? So I made this a red and white quilt, just like the one that I quilted for our friend Tony. And one of the reasons was because I realized I don't have a red and white quilt. That is a combination, such a classic combination. And I have never, uh, I I have not made a red and white quilt like that before. And so it was just so stunning to me that I wanted to try it. So anyway, I'm glad you like it, and I'm glad you like the backing on it. I ordered the backing with all the fabric that you saw back there. I decided that I wanted a black and white. And any of the black and white fabrics that I have, I didn't have enough, and I wanted a single fabric for the backing. So I usually try to use what I have, but in this case, this is what I wanted for it, and I'm really happy with that. So let's see. Oh, maybe, I don't know if it was Susie Quilts for the binding. I'm going to have to look it up. Um, but it was really, really not long ago. So, I'm glad I have that quilt. It's quilted, the binding is on. It'll take a while to stitch around it. It turned out to be pretty big. I don't have the measurements. But I know I made 42 blocks, so I think it ended up being about 96 by 88 roughly. I think that was the size that it came out to be. So bed size for sure. And then after I had the top all together, I found another stack of red and white blocks that somehow I had misplaced, which leads me to my next problem. So I now have maybe it's a starter set for somebody else who wants to make a red and white disappearing hourglass. Maybe I should offer those up for a little prize or something like that. Um, I I've had this problem so much lately, and I want to know if you can relate. Um, I was almost late this morning because I spent another 10 minutes looking for a project that I wanted to show you or thought that maybe I would work on this morning. And I only had put it away. It couldn't have been more than a week ago, and I had already forgotten where I put it. And so let's see if I can do this. So back over here on this other wall behind my long arm, I don't know if you'll be able to see all of these metal wire shelves there. There's like what, one, two, three bays of metal shelves there. That's where a lot of my projects live when I'm not working on them. And I have been trying to whittle down like everybody else. Let's get that out of the way. I've been trying to whittle down my UFOs just like most of us. And yet that those shelves are pretty stacked full. And so sometimes when I have another project, I don't have room to put the bin for that project on those shelves where it belongs. So I either need to stop starting so many new projects that I don't have room for them, or I need to finish something that's on the shelf to make room for another tote, but those totes are maxed out. I have extra totes. I don't have any room to put them. And then if I start too many projects and I'm not working on them all the time, then they get lost in the shuffle. And so I just after doing this for the umpteenth time, looking for a project that I really hadn't put away for very long. I thought, oh, this has to stop. I have to figure this out. And so maybe I'm not working on so many projects at the same time. Used to not be a problem. I'm not sure why it's a problem now. Maybe it just bothers me more that I am wasting the very, very precious sewing time that I have searching for things. And, so like when my mom comes back in July and she's here then my sewing time is even more limited. And I don't want to spend that hour, maybe an hour a day that I have to sew. I don't want to spend 10 minutes of it looking for a project. So I think I'm going to start narrowing down how many I work on, because normally, like, my list for June will have, I think it has about 10 projects, and that's pretty typical. 10 projects that I kind of cycle throughout the month. And most of the time they're in different stages. So for instance, one of my goals for June was to get that disappearing hourglass bound. So it's on the list just for the binding. The next one that I'm going to show you, Succulent Garden. I had the hexagons made for it, but I had not arranged them on the wall and I had not started assembling them by the end of May. So my goal for June was to get it assembled, quilted, and bound. So that's my second main project to work on. Then I always have my leader and ender project. This is my offset project that I've been working on for a long time. So I always have that near my machine, and it gets progress little by little. And then there are a couple of other things like that on the list. So I usually have something that I'm hoping to get quilted and something that I will then hope to get bound. And then a couple things pieced. And then yesterday and this morning, I spent a little time pulling fabrics. So, that's sort of the beginning of the process, the pulling the fabrics. So, you don't have a cure for me on this problem? Well, it makes me realize that maybe that's why some people just want to work on one thing at a time. I always thought either maybe I'm a little ADHD, or maybe we like that kind of that dopamine hit of the excitement of starting something new. And I think that's a big part of it. It's really exciting to start new things, isn't it? So I do think that's a big factor. And then sometimes I kind of slog through the middle of it and then get another burst of energy as it gets maybe to the assembling stage, So I'm going to show you a couple more projects. And let's see, because I haven't started doing any sewing yet. So I'll show you the one. Actually, both of these are going to be ones that I'm going to hopefully do a little bit of sewing, or that I'm prepared to do a little bit of sewing for. So the first one is a UFO, and I had challenged myself that I wanted to always have a UFO in progress. Pull something from those shelves over there, pull it out and see what I can do with it. And in a couple of the videos this year, I had pulled out a couple of projects that I thought I might get around to working on again. But for the moment, this is the one that won the spot of getting it going again. So I am working on, let's see, I am working on Box Kite. And again, there's a little story to go with this. So I had probably spent a little too much time on social media scrolling through things, maybe just a little. And I came across a post from someone who was working on a 4-patch style quilt. And I was like, okay. Again, I always like a 4-patch, and I like that idea of scrap busting because you heard me talk about scraps before. So I investigated it, and it turns out that it was Bonnie Hunter's Leader Ender Challenge from just last year. So that means it's still running through the end of June. So I got very excited, and I thought, oh, there's still a month left to work on last year's Leader Ender Challenge before the new one comes out, because if she does it again, it usually comes out in July. So I thought, oh, that'd be a good one to start. And then all of a sudden I was like, you dummy, what? You have at least 2 or 3 Bonnie Hunter projects already in progress. You don't need to start another one of hers, even though it's tempting. So this Box Kite is from Quiltmaker, May, June 2014. My little paper here says that I'm not sure exactly when I started it, but a year later in 2015, I had 47 blocks made. And then I put it aside. Typical me, put it aside. I think so. My note says that if I wanted to make it a bed size, go big or go home. That's the way my brain thinks. Just make it big. That I needed 224 blocks for a queen size quilt. Maybe at the time that was too daunting. Maybe I just thought, oh, I can't do that many. I can't do it. And I put them aside. Let's see. They're in this little tub right here. I had to move them out of their old plastic baggie, and I gave them their own tub. So I decided that instead of starting a new project, so here's my cure, Kevin. Here's my cure. Instead of starting a new project, I pulled out this. This is a stack of 50 blocks because I made this one since I had that brilliant idea. Now, these are all these are from my stash, what my stash had in 2015. So these are all done with kind of bright, happy fabrics. And there's some weird ones here. I'd say that one's pretty weird. But it's okay. And the funny thing is, I still have some of these fabrics. And so I thought, okay, instead of starting something new, I have a project. These blocks are half done. If I make it, instead of making a queen size quilt, if I make a throw, I only need 99 blocks. I don't need 224. So I went ahead and I'll show you a couple more. So I pulled older fabrics from my stash that I thought would be similar to this. So I didn't want to pull out like my newer, because everything that you see behind me on those shelves, that's all from 2020. Those are a lot newer fabrics. I wanted to dive into scraps, not necessarily, well, I went into my 2.5-inch drawer because these are all 2.5-inch strips and 2.5-inch squares. I went into that drawer and I pulled a few, and then I went into my stash and I pulled a few more. And so this is going to be, I'm really quite excited about this. So I have cut a couple more blocks. So I thought I would sew this one today. And I have 2 more kitted up. And I also thought that I would show you how I use an easy angle ruler. I had kind of a little bit of a discussion on one of my past episodes. I think it was just in 21 or 22 about what rulers you have that you own that you don't know how to use. Well, I have been using an easy angle ruler for a really long time because this is the ruler that Bonnie Hunter originally suggested for a lot of her sew-alongs. And I've been making her mystery quilts since 2007. I've been making her mystery quilts for a really long time. So I've had this for a really long time, and um, I know how to use it. So I thought while we're talking today, I have a couple of pairings done for another couple of blocks. And if I can get you up close enough to where you can really see what I'm doing, I thought I would show you how to use an easy angle ruler. Does anybody else have the easy angle? Do you know how to use it? Are you comfortable using it? I thought I would start there because that's one that I'm pretty sure I won't screw up. Let's see. Oh, all right. So, yeah, we're really good at starting projects. Kevin said that he said he'd only work on one quilt at a time. Well, you're working on maybe one at a time, but then when you get tired of it, you put it away and you start something else. So you're still just working on that next one at a time, maybe, and put it aside and start something else. And that's where the lost projects come in, where I end up. So I will show you the one that I lost and found after my 10 minutes of searching. I'll show you that later. So, but I am really going to try to. I think that might have to happen. That I might have to limit and not think about working on 10 different projects in a month. And maybe that'll work, maybe it won't. But I think, like I said, I have 51. This will be 52, 53, 54. I'll show you. All right, so I went into my stash and I pulled out some neutrals that I thought, whoa, hold on, that's not going to work. They're going to dump all off. I'm using this leftover cardboard, the insert for bolts. And so these are some of the neutrals that I've pulled. Let's see. Is that better? Can you see that any better? Before they slide off. So those are some of the neutrals that I pulled. There's about 30 or so here. I'm only going to cut the strips as I need them. So it tends to be fairly slow for me. I do have an AccuQuilt. I could go ahead and press all of these and get a 2.5-inch strip cut from every single one. But I may not use some of them. And so I think I'm just going to do it the slow way. And I pulled I found a scrap of this green and cut a 2.5-inch strip of it. And then I went and I found which one of these I wanted. And I cut a 2.5-inch strip out of that one. And then I'm going to show you how to cut it. And I did the same thing. I found this scrap of blue and matched it up with my neutral that I wanted to use. And I did the same thing with this purple and found a background strip that I wanted to use for that. So I'm kind of working one block at a time, and I suppose I could stack these for some cutting, but I typically don't. I just cut them one at a time. I don't know. So those are neutrals, and then This morning I pulled, again, I went kind of deep into my stash and I pulled a few more prints to use for this. And I'm not going to cut up the whole thing. Most of these have, you know, that's a 6-inch strip. I'll just cut a 2.5 inch off of that. So I have enough to, you know, I'll just kind of work through and keep cutting those. But sewing the block is pretty easy. If you want to look at it again, you've got some half square triangles, a center square, and the two neutrals in the corner that match. So let me see if I can show you this. It's not really an overhead view. Let's see. Can I get it any closer? Is that a little better? Can you tell me if you can see that at all? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my 2.5 inch squares of my neutral. So I'll use this leftover strip. You either like frogs or you don't like frogs. I think they're pretty cute. Then I will, the key for the easy angle ruler is that you are going to pair your strips up. You want to be able to cut. These are for making half square triangles. I suppose I should have said that. Let's see. Do I hand cut everything? I don't use my AccuQuilt as much as I probably could because, you know, I kind of gotten set in my ways, I suppose. I think I have a die that would cut 2.5 inch half square triangle units. And maybe I'll get that out as I get into this. Right now, I've only made like three of these blocks since I've restarted it yesterday. So maybe as I get going and as I kind of get more familiar with it, I might go ahead and batch cut some of the 2.5 inch strips, or maybe I'll look at that die, because if I use the 2.5 inch half square triangle die, I think it's set up as a square and not as strips. So if that's the case, it'll be a good thing that I haven't cut everything up into 2.5 inch strips, because then it would make it a lot harder to use the AccuQuilt die. So we'll see. And I'm not planning on, I think the AccuQuilt is good when you're cutting a lot of the same from the same fabric. So if I wanted to cut like 3 2.5 inch strips, that would be great, but I don't want to cut that many. It would be great if I was needing to cut like several dozen of half square triangles out of the same fabric, so I could stack it and get them all cut at once. But each block is going to be different. Like I said, I need to make if I make 99 blocks, I've already got 51. So I have less than 50 blocks to make. And I've got 30 different fabrics pulled. for my neutrals. If I was going to use all the same background fabric, I think it would be a lot faster and better to use the AccuQuilt, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it would be any faster for me to use it when I am not doing big batches of stuff. So in this case, I'm going to hand cut. So I cut my 2 squares for these 2 corners. Okay. So that's where we're going. I have those. And now I'm going to put my 2 fabrics, my 2 strips, right sides together. Now this ruler will go up to a 6.5 inch size strip. So you find the line for the size strip that you are working with. And I am working with 2.5. So here's my line for 2.5. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off my edges and get a clean cut. Okay. So I will just get the clean cut. This is an old mat. We'll have to see if this one works. There we go. So I'm going to find the line that I need for 2.5 inches. So I've lined this up. Can you see that? Is that a little better? Okay. And so the bottom of the ruler is at the bottom of the strip, and the top of the strip is on the line for the strip width that I'm cutting. And the vertical line is going right along my cut edge, my newly cut edge. And I make a cut. Now, these 2 pieces, keep them together. They're ready to sew, just like this. You don't have to match and try to get them aligned correctly. They're already aligned. That's what I like about this. They are ready to sew. I'm not going to take them apart. Then I flip the ruler over. So I went from this and flip it over. And now my line marking is along this edge here. Can you see that? And I'm aligning this solid line right here. Hold on just a second. I want to get something, a flat piece of paper or something for you to be able to see that. Okay, so 2.5 inch line, I'm going to now align this at the top of my strip, and I'm going to make the other cut. So I flip my ruler over, and instead of aligning at the bottom of my strip, I'm aligning at the top of my strip, and then the diagonal line gets lined up to the edge that you just cut. Okay, so you want to place that. And the third thing that I'm looking at is that the black tip of the ruler, is off the fabric. It falls off the fabric, and then you are left with that nice already removed dog ear, which lets you line up your pieces at the sewing machine. Does that make sense? So I need 6 pairs of these, and I I did figure out that I needed, when I'm looking at my strips, I only need about a 10-inch piece from my darker strip, my background, and I need a 15-inch piece of my background fabric. So 10 inches of your print and 15 inches of your background. And that's enough. So it will use up leftover jelly roll pieces. And so I was keeping my mat nearby so that I could measure, do a rough measure and make sure that I had enough of those. So you flip and cut and flip and line it back up again and cut. Now, if I knew that I was going to use the same combination for several blocks, I could keep cutting all the way down the strip. But I really don't want any extra at this point. So those are my 6 pieces, and these are my extras. So these go back onto the boards that I have. And then the only other thing I need to choose is I need to choose my center square. I could use the same, but I wanted to use different. So I have my box of 2.5-inch squares. And the way I've been doing it, and someone had asked me once, like, how do I choose, or what's my thought process on what I'm going to use and not going to use. And so for this project, let me fix this view just a little bit. Let me fix this. Okay. So for this project, like I said, I was targeting some of my older fabrics because I thought that they would play well together. Yes, there might be some newer ones in there, but I find that the colors change over time. And so sometimes I just don't like the way the newer colors play with the older colors. But in this case, so I am thinking I could do an orange. And so if I want to go into the oranges, I had already pulled out some. I could use the solid orange. That might look cute. And if I want one that's maybe not quite as bright, I probably want one that's bright. Let's see. There's some oranges in this one. I'm kind of liking the solid orange. But if I want to try another color, these are more or less divided by color. So I could kind of pick it up and flip through and try out a couple of things in another color. I don't think I'm going to want anything red, but that might, who knows, that might work. I like the solid red. Or maybe this one. That's kind of cute. We'll see. I think I'll set out these 2 for now. And when I actually lay the block out after I've sewn my half square triangles, then I can make a final choice then. So I have my bin here to pull from for all of my centers. and I will set them up. This is one of those, this little board is one of those ones that's just got a piece of felt on it, and it has sandpaper under here. So so the sandpaper kind of holds this felt in place. And of course the felt holds the blocks in place. So, and it's, it's stiff. So this is a nice little test board to hold my blocks. And so when I get to sewing this one, I will put this onto my board here and have it ready for later. So this, I think I want this project to be my main project after I get done with the next one that I'm going to show you. So yeah, so I have already chosen the next one going forward, because the one that I am working, the real one that I'm working on right now, my succulent garden, is going to be done, the top is going to be done this weekend. I'm sure I'll have it done this weekend. I thought I was going to have a lot more of it. Oh, what's with my hair today? I thought it was going to take me longer to get it assembled, but the pieces are so big, yay. And there's so few seams to sew a column together, yay, that in one session I got 3 columns done, and then the next time I got another one. And so now I'm up to, I have 5 out of my 7 columns done. So it will definitely be assembled by the end of this weekend. And then I will pick out a backing and hopefully get that one on the long arm in the next week or so. I have somebody else's quilt to do in the meantime, though. Not saying any names, but I do have somebody else's quilt that I'm going to get quilted really soon. So, so that's how I use the easy angle. I usually use the easy angle for just 2 strips at a time. I could stack 2 or 3 sets of strips up, but then I have to take them apart. Separate them. And if I'm separating them and they start coming apart from their mate, then that just defeats half the purpose of using the easy angle, because the purpose of the easy angle is that when I go to sew these, it's easy to pick these up already paired, already matched, and get them through the machine really quickly. So if I have to do a lot of separating, then that doesn't really help me. So I do tend to just cut 1 block at a time and kit up 1 block at a time. I don't know if that's how Bonnie Hunter does it or not. I don't know. But, and I know she has some photographs and tutorials on her website for how to use that ruler. So you can always look at that too. So, so, that is going to, that UFO has suddenly jumped up into one of the top positions. Have I answered everybody's questions? Let me just take a second and make sure that I haven't missed something. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Kevin. That's very nice. So easy angle, sometimes you just stick with the things that you know and you know how to use and you're comfortable with it. But if I go ahead and do some, oh, and by the way, when I put this down, it reminded me, uh, I have sprayed this with Grippy spray, and you can't see it unless, I don't know if you can see that there's a haze on the ruler. Uh, Maybe you can see that this isn't really clear right here. It's not yellowed. The ruler is not yellowed. I've sprayed it with Grippy spray so that it sticks better on top of the fabric so that it doesn't move as much on top of the fabric. And because you flip the ruler back and forth and back and forth, I sprayed both sides. And I just remembered that when I put it down because you can feel it. It's not really sticky. This side almost feels like I need to reapply it again. But usually when I spray my ruler, the spray lasts for quite a while. I did this one. Well, maybe I didn't do this one at all. I don't think I did this one at all. But for a while, I was having quite a bit of problem. It seemed like my rulers were slipping all the time, and that was really annoying. And as I was talking about it, someone on one of the chats reminded me about the Grippy spray, and I have a can of it. So if you haven't seen it before, let me grab it. I think I can grab it. I think I can reach it here. Here it is. Grippy non-slip coating. It's just a 3-ounce can. It is a lot smaller than, let's say, a bottle of spray starch or a bottle of like a fusible spray. This is not a fusible spray. It just puts a coating onto your, you shake it really well, and then it just comes out as a fine mist. And it's just got a regular, it's a regular spray can. And it just says the thinner the layer, the more the product is transparent. But you can use 2 coats if you want to, and you can use it on plastic, glass, paper, carpet, and wood. I have only used it on my rulers. And if I'm spraying it inside, then I hold the ruler inside of a trash can and spray it so that any overspray goes into the plastic bag in lining the trash can. So anyway, yes, it is good stuff. It really works. And here I thought I had to go out and buy all of the Quilter Select rulers, when in reality I only needed like what is this, like maybe an $8 can of Grippy spray. So if you're out and about shopping over your summer travels, and I bet you'll find us at one of the shops, especially if you ask. If you don't see it on their notions wall, you can ask. So yeah, it is good stuff. It is definitely worth it. So shall I sew a seam or two? Could I do that? You already saw my blocks made. So, this is really straightforward. I'm assuming that most of you have sewn together half square triangles, but if you haven't done that, I have pressed these towards the print fabric. Okay. I have pressed these towards the print fabric so that when I line them up, those seams will nest. And actually, even after I use the easy angle, I often will still square up my blocks, even if it's just a sliver trim. Most of the time, there's next to nothing to trim off. So these make an accurate sized piece. With very little trimming. So if you like to make oversized blocks and then trim down, you would have to go up to the next size in next line on the ruler. But I would suggest that you work on your 1/4 inch seam and try to find out where you need to sew that seam so that they can come out right the first time, so that they can be as accurate as possible with very, very little trimming. So I was going to use this project as a leader ender. Remember, that's where the whole thing started. I saw her leader ender project. And if you do want to look at her, the leader ender project for 2025 that finishes at the end of this month, I know it's on her website, and probably under free patterns. And I will find it and I will put a link for it in the description box. Let me make myself a note or I will not remember to do that. So a link for that. I didn't write down the other thing. What was the other thing I was going to put a link for? Oh, the box kite block, maybe. If there's something you want me to link in the description box, just type it in the chat and I will look up the information and I'll put it down there. But I will remember to do that one. Oh, the grippy spray. I could put a link for the grippy spray. And you write that down. If I don't, it'll be gone. All right. So let's just sew a couple more pieces here. So did you see? Oh, you can't see. Darn it. Sorry. All right. So I wanted to show you how I use leader enders because this actually could be a leader ender project for me. One more. All right, so I'm matching up these two little corners here. And so I want to keep these 3 pieces all together. Okay, I've sewn these 3 rows together and I want to take them over to the ironing board and press them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, these are my leader enders right now. It's 2 units of offset. It doesn't matter what it is. You could be making 4 patches or anything else that you wanted. I could even actually start sewing the next block. But for right now, I want to get these pieces out from under the machine without having to pull this out and cut a long string and then have strings to cut off. So I am going to sew those 2 pieces, leave these under, and now I'm going to cut this off from behind. So now I've kept my block together. these are the rows for my block. And I can take them over to press them right behind me. And I can get that all ready to go. And in the meantime, these two pieces stay under my machine. And when I come back, I can just start sewing again without having to hold on to the threads as they come out of the machine. And it's really a nuisance to me when I don't have a leader ender prepared. It is such a nuisance to have to hold on to those threads in order to get stitching. So whether you use just a couple layers of fabric to stitch off onto or anything like that. I know they've got all kinds of names for that. But in this case, I'm actually sewing something useful and making progress on this other quilt at the same time. And eventually, one hopes, eventually, I will have all of these sewn into columns, long columns. And I'm getting better use out of my thread and my time, and it's very efficient that way, I think. It does mean that you need to have that other project ongoing, ready to go. It's a slow build. There does come a time sometimes when I'm sewing my leader ender project that it becomes the primary project, and that's okay too. So let me give these a quick press right here. And we'll get this block sewn. My iron really wasn't very hot that time. Those auto shutoffs are great, but wasn't completely hot. So I pressed the seams towards my center square in that row, and so I pressed my seams away from the center square in the top and bottom rows so that my seams nest. One of the things that I love about Bonnie's patterns is that she goes to every effort so that you can have seams that nest wherever possible. And I think that really makes things look a lot neater and lay a lot nicer. So, oh, good morning. Hi, Vicki. Glad you could join us. Vicki, what are you working on something today? Are you stitching? Do I need to back up at all and show anybody else who's just joined us what I'm working on? I'll show you in just a second. I'll get this block done and then I'll just do a little wrap up on it and go over that again. And then I'll go on to the next project that I wanted to talk to you about. Time's flying. Okay, one more seam here. So I'm hoping with this project that I think what I'm going to find is that I'm a more experienced sewist at this point than I was when I first started this project back in 2015. One can hope, right? And so perhaps something that seemed quite daunting to me at, oh no. Well, I'll keep you company while you have a date with Jack, and you'll get that done and go forward from there. I'm sure you'll be a lot happier with it once you get it sewn the way you want it. And those dates with Jack are unavoidable, aren't they? They happen to me all the time. So let's pull another. All right, last. So I'm using my leader enders. If you're just joining me, these little basket that I'm reaching over to has my leader enders in it, and it's my secondary project that I stitch in between the blocks that I'm working on, my primary project, so that I can take the work out from underneath the needle. So this needs a press, and I will show you that. Now this iron should be good and hot. Ta-da! So there's my cute little block. These are 6-inch finished. So right now they measure 6.5 inches. And they are made from 2-inch squares and 2.5-inch half square triangles that I showed earlier in the video today. I showed you how I cut my half square triangles and how I cut them into matching pairs, all ready to go under the sewing machine. I have 3 more sets of blocks all ready to work on, but I'm going to put this aside for now because I want to show you another project that I'm working on. So really, I think over time, our view, our experience has changed, has made us better at what we do. And right now, instead of starting a new project that I was so tempted to start yesterday, instead of starting that new project, I thought, you know what? I have one that I know I have one that I'd really like to work on. And so as a little bit of a wrap up, what I ended up doing is I found this, see, I had the magazine in with it. I have a stack of 49 blocks already made and had gotten set aside for this pattern, this box kite pattern. That's what I was going to put a link. It's in Quilt Maker number 157 from May, June 2014. So instead of starting something new, I figured out that I'm halfway done with the blocks. And originally I thought maybe I would make a queen size quilt because that's the way my brain thinks. And now I'm thinking I'm going to make it a more kid friendly quilt. I'm going for throw size at the moment. I'm going to go for a throw size. So 99 blocks will give me a quilt that measures 54 by 66. If I get to that point, and I want to keep going or I want to make it a little bigger, fine. But right now I'm thinking if I get those 99 blocks made or 50 more blocks made to pair up with the first 50 that I have, I'm going to be good to go. And that will knock a UFO out of my list. So I am I'm really quite pumped about that. I'm really looking forward to working on that this month. And I have all my fabric pulled. I showed you that earlier. And I also, earlier I showed you how to use the easy angle ruler that I'm using to cut my half square triangles in pairs that are already ready to sew. So let's see. And I also mentioned the grippy spray that I use to keep my rulers from slipping and sliding. And I will put that link in the description box below. So to anybody just joining in, I'm glad you're here. I thank you for joining me. My name is Stephanie, and I'm the Everyday Sewist. I hope that you'll subscribe. I hope you'll come back and let us visit again another time. I haven't decided whether there's a baby bunny in my hosta. Oh, he's nibbling on the leaves. Darn it. Those little critters. I've had hostas I have a window well right here that I really, really like. And the bird bath is out there, and I really enjoy watching the birds splash around. And my hostas were growing. They look wonderful because the bunnies hadn't found them yet because they're kind of down below in the window well. But there's a little guy who just found them, and he's having his second breakfast. So, anyway, I'm glad you're here. I'm trying to figure out, I may or may not have one on July 4th. That is the first Saturday of July, and I'm usually here sewing. If you tell me in the chat, tell me if you think you would even be around or be available on Saturday morning, July 4th. If I have enough interest, maybe I could do that. Otherwise, I was thinking of pushing it off another week to the second Saturday in July. So if you have an opinion on that, please let me know what you think. If one date is better for you than the other, and I'll see. I really don't want to skip it because I enjoy it. I like having a chance to show you some of these things and talk about them a little bit more than I do in my episodes. And you often get the first look at things before they even get to be on the episode. You often will get to see the things that I'm working on. So that being said, all right, I have one other project that was, see, I keep interrupting my projects. And let me show you the project that I misplaced. And spent 10 minutes looking for it this morning. So I have been making these old-fashioned log cabin blocks. Okay. And the thing I love about them is I love the random placement of the logs. And I was going for that kind of warm, cozy look. And these blocks are going to be really, really big. So I only need 12 blocks for the entire lap size quilt. Okay, thanks, Jane. So I am, the first couple of rounds went really fast. So I have 12 of these. And when I get done, it will be a 16.5-inch block. All right, this was my test block to make sure that I had the measurements correct, that I knew what I was doing. So I will have one extra block so that if I don't, I'll be making 13 blocks, including this one. So if one of them doesn't come out the way I like, I can always swap in this other another block. So because I keep getting distracted all the time. Oh, don't eat those plants. Hey, you. Excuse me, I'm going to go tap on my window and stop him from eating my plants. You little bugger. Hey. Hey, buddy. Oh, my goodness. He's down there eating all my flowers. So, I have, I need to cut my next round of strips, and here is my, let's see. Oh, that's better. Here is my upside down tote bin cover that I use a lot of times for holding on to my strips. And so I have some strips already cut to the lengths. And so the longest one is, what did I say? Did I say what size? The longest size strip is 19.5 inches. It's a big block. I mean, I could stop here. I could. If you like that better, actually, it needs one more round. It needs to have, I think, or needs to have one more strip somewhere, I think, because I don't think that's square. But I am really liking big blocks. So I am making these super huge log cabin blocks. And once I have 24 strips of the next size strip done, then I can sew the next 2 logs on to the next 2 sides. So I have to do some cutting for this, and I need to put that on my to-do list for today so that I can keep sewing on these. Because I really like these blocks too. So that's what I mean. I get distracted, and I set this aside because I was going to work on Succulent Garden. That's coming up. I'm going to show you that in just a second because it's fabulous. It is so wonderful. So and then of course there's my string blocks, which I haven't, I guess I made one string block last week. And then if you didn't get to catch yesterday's video, it was a little video on just like 6 minutes on a new challenge that I'm giving myself called Make It Happen Monday. And I have some smaller projects that I want to work on. And I want to give myself an hour or so, hopefully once a week, hopefully on a Monday, to pull out one of those little projects that I've been wanting to do and get to working on those. So if you're interested in that, then look at yesterday's little video and I tell you a little bit more about it. And then you still have maybe hopefully you still have some time today and tomorrow that you could think about it and pull out some small project that you'd like to work on that you've been meaning to get around to. I have mine all figured out. And so what I'm going to do is on Monday, it'll just be it'll be under 3 minutes. And I will show you what I decided to work on and what I got done. And it'll hopefully inspire you to do the same and to pull out something small. And the idea is that it doesn't necessarily have to be sewing quilting. What if you had some other kind of a thing that's been nagging at you to get done? And what I found is that a lot of times those little things take so much less time than we think they're going to take. You know, we've got those to-do lists, and sometimes we just think it's gonna take forever, and it really might not. It really might get done in that half hour that you might set aside for it. So that's what I'm going to try to encourage you to do, and then try and encourage myself to do, is to just dive in and dive into the pool. Dive in and get into one of those little projects that I've been wanting to do. And I'm all excited and set and ready to do the one that I've chosen for Monday. So you'll see me back again on Monday, just in case I forget to mention that. So now let me show you. Let's hope I'm well prepared for this. So I have been working on a quilt called Succulent Garden by the pattern is by Crimson Tate. Crimson Tate is a local shop for me. A little jaunt downtown will get me there. And so I went there last summer during the shop hop, the Indiana shop hop. And I go more than that, but I was down there for the shop hop last summer, and I bought a kit for Succulent Garden. And I don't have a picture of the pattern. I can put a link for it. Let me write myself another note, and I'll put a link for it in the description box. And I love this pattern so much, and they make wonderful kits for this pattern all the time. Over the years, I have seen, I could have easily bought half a dozen of their kits for these quilts. This is the first time that I did. So this quilt is made with all fabrics from the Kaffe times Morris line of fabric by Free Spirit. And I have 5 of the rows assembled, which makes it, hold on, let me get the measurements for it. I have it written down here. I've been keeping the measurements on the width because I have enough extra blocks that I want to make I could have made this one bigger, like king size, but I didn't want a king size quilt. So I saved aside some of the extra blocks that I made. And so I'm keeping track of the measurements so that I know how big my next one can be. So when I was doing my quilt in columns, and if I have 4 rows, 4 columns assembled, it is 56 by 82. And now I have 5 rows assembled, and it is 71 by 82. I think that's even a good twin size. So let me show you. I push the chair out of the way here so you can see it. Now, I'm not 82 inches tall. I don't think I'm going to be able to hold this up. Can you see it? So look at the size of these hexagons. Aren't those fantastic? I love them so much. And what I wanted to do today, what I will still do today, I still have some time. I have my last two columns over on my design wall. And I am going to show you how I join those seams, because it's not hard. It's just a straight seam. It just looks funny because it's on the diagonal. But there are a couple little things that I want to share with you if you are stitching any kind of hexagon together. Just because of the angle. So let me go grab the first two pieces and I will come over and show you that. Okay. So what I have here, this is the bottom, it wouldn't matter, bottom or top of my next column. Let me angle this so that you can see. I probably don't need my cutting mat. All right. All right, so here is the seam that I'm going to sew together. And this is the bottom. Well, so when I sew this on, this is going to square off the edge of the hexagon. And did I mess that up? Let me hold on. Hold on. That has to be like that. Okay. See, I've got myself at a funny angle here. So this seam will fit perfectly. And what I wanted to share is I wanted to share how you set this up. And hold on, I think I have messed something up. This does not look right. Let me go back over here a second. Okay, I was wrong. All right, now that makes more sense to you, I'm sure. So when this is my fill-in piece for the bottom of the row, And so you can see that once I sew this on, I'm going to have a squared off corner, right? And my columns will meet. And then this part of the hexagon is going to join with the previous row that also has what will look like the top of a hexagon. So when I'm joining these, and the reason I wanted this on my white table is that I'm hoping you can see this. On this end, when I am pinning this in place, this little piece right here that is sticking out is really important, because you don't want to trim those off. That's your guide, because when I match this one up, these need to be equal size, which is 1/4 of an inch hanging over. And I'll pin that. And then on this other end, I am also looking for this to be hanging over, even though the angles are not the same. I'm looking for this to also be 1/4 of an inch. Well, actually, this is going to be 3/8 of an inch, but this is going to hang over. And here's my 1/4 of an inch between the corner and the edge of the fabric here. And when you sew the 1/4 of an inch, and when I'm sewing, I'm going to start my seam right at this notch where these two intersect right here. And then I've been putting in an extra pin or two. Just line my edges up. So none of these are bias. These are not bias edges. It's just on an angle. And so the only thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my 1/4 of an inch at each end where I need it to be, 1/4 of an inch. So now let me sew that, and I will show you how that works out. So I am putting my 1/4 of an inch notch right, and I don't think you can see from my camera angle, but I'll show you the stitched seam, and then that'll show you right where I sew. So I wanted to show that to you so that it wouldn't hold you up from trying to stitch something like this, because it's not hard. It's just a matter of knowing where you want to line up your 1/4 of an inch seam, where you want your pieces to be. And when I exit my seam, I'm also looking for that notch, that 1/4 of an inch notch. Okay. Can you see where the seam started right there on that end? And right here where my 1/4 of an inch comes out right here. I'm cutting the light out so you're not getting a really good light here. Is that better? So that's how you sew these seams. And then when I press this open, my corner is going to be completed. or the corner of the column is going to be completed. So I have a few more of those seams to do. This is column number 6 of 7. And I can just go run and get the next piece and bring that over here. All right, so see, here's my next 2 pieces to join together. It's an angled seam, but it's still a straight seam. Whoops. Y'all, sorry about that. I don't know how that happened. You went for a ride. Oh, goodness. All right. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing with these other next 2 pieces. And on this one, no matter which way my seam gets pressed, I'll pick this up and show this to you. Those little notches, those overhangs are super helpful because that shows me exactly where my piece needs to line up. So I'll hold that up for you in just a second. And it makes the sewing on this very, very easy. Okay. So my seam is coming in here and it's going to meet up with this notch underneath, and they are going to meet perfectly right here. Okay, on that one end. And on the other end of the seam, the previous seam that was sewn, these 2 pieces on this hexagon, and that just fits and sits perfectly right on top. Okay. So there they are at each end. And I'm using those notches to line up the 1/4 of an inch seam. And I put a couple of pins in. And now I'm ready to sew again. So we'll get one more seam done here. And while I'm sewing that, I just wanted to again say thank you for being here today. Thank you for sitting in and chatting with me. I hope you got something done as well. I hope that you were able to finish your date with Jack, Vicki. I hope that you're on to the more fun part of making your basket blocks. I hope that you have a nice weekend and a good month of June. And if you're traveling, I hope you've been able to figure out a way to bring some of your stitching with you. I think I'll be gone for part of the month as well, but I haven't figured out the stitching part of it yet. I'll bet there's a lot of things going on in your area, and maybe you have some plans for the 4th of July. And like I said, I will post or let you all know if I'm going to be live on July 4th or not. You can see I haven't been making any red, white, and blue projects right now. I have an idea for one thing, and I'm not sure if I will get to it or not. And if you've heard of Kathleen Tracy, she has a Facebook group, and she usually works with reproduction style fabrics, which I still also like and use from time to time. And she is starting a quick a sew along for a small project. And so if you're wanting to make something quick in time for the 4th of July, I also posted some table runners that I had made in my last episode. So maybe you have time for a table runner, or for, like I said, the little mini quilt that Kathleen Tracy is doing. And I might have one little thing coming up. Maybe. We'll see if I get to it. So we've only got a few more minutes here, so that's why I wanted to make sure that I gave you all that information ahead of time. And I hope you come back. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would take a moment and subscribe to my channel. I love to see it grow, because that means that the community is growing, and that's really cool. So that's the more important part of it to me. And I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and showing you what I've been stitching on. And that's my plan, is to just keep showing you what kind of things I've been working on. So I just finished this seam, and when you match up those notches, you can see that the sides just match up beautifully with those. And so if you had been worried about, oh, my columns, it'd be so hard to match it up. The other thing, now that this is sewn, I should also show you that seam. Let me get this. So right here is where these pieces come together, and there should be a 1/4 of an inch seam still showing right here, a little. So when I sew my columns together, I'm going to be sewing right through this point. I'm going to be sewing right down, right through this point that has the 1/4 of an inch. And the fabric's so busy, it's really hard to see, isn't it? But that also means that if I don't match it completely perfectly, it's never going to show. So, but I love these fabrics. I just think they're gorgeous, and I can't wait to get this top put together, and it's going to be done, I think, really soon. And then, like I said, I have my log cabin project, and I have my box kite blocks, and my binding to do. So between, let's see, yeah, binding, finishing this, quilt and bind that, and some blocks to sew. And that should do it. I'm going to really try to limit my focus. And, oh, thank you, Jane. You just became a member. I appreciate that so much. I do always forget to tell you, I do have a membership option if you'd like to support my channel. And you can start at the Let's Be Friends level at 99 cents a month. It's just or you can also, if you wanted to support the channel, you can also do a one-time buy me a coffee, which is also available as an ongoing, but you can just do it as a one-time only also, if you'd like to do that. I'd appreciate it. And but certainly not required. I want you back anyway. I want you to come back no matter whether you are just as a subscriber, or any way you can make it back is great for me. And I appreciate it. It's been really fun sitting and getting to sew with you today and sharing some of the projects that I'm working on in a little bit more detail. And hopefully that you've been able to get some things done as well. So let me see if I have time to sew the next piece on. Let me go grab it. All right, I grabbed the next two. I might as well. I might be able to get both of them done. And this is the top of the column. So last night we were supposed to be able to see the aurora. And if you are in the northern part of the United States or Canada, it was supposed to be visible last night. And I just think it's the coolest thing to see it. But it was either it didn't reach down into our area. I'm in the middle of the state, or it was too cloudy last night. I didn't think it was too cloudy, or I didn't stay up late enough. But I didn't want to stay up any later. I was tired and I needed to go to bed. So maybe I didn't stay up late enough to see them. And then of course by that time I wasn't going to be able to wake up super early at sunrise either to see it. So I did not get to see the aurora last night. The last time I got to see it was several months ago, but it was really, really cool. It wasn't like the full pillars and swirly sky, but we did get some of the color here. Oh, so in my membership options, currently it is just a way to support me and show appreciation for what I'm doing. I do often release videos early to members, so you would get to see them before anybody else does. And at some point, I may be able to offer special sessions to my members, but I haven't done that yet. So at the moment, it is just a sign of appreciation, and I do appreciate it. It takes time, but I am more than I am more than happy to give the time to it. So it is something that I've really enjoyed learning how to do, and appreciate you coming along for the ride. So until next time, I hope you find some time for some stitching, and I hope you'll keep your eyes on my channel and look for upcoming videos. I've got some things planned. I need to do another scrappy video, and I need to get some more of those scrap packs sent out. So, thank you for being here. Again, I am Stephanie, the Everyday Sewist, and happy sewing. Until next time, bye bye.